Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Pullbox Pals. I'm your pal Mark, and my pal next to me over here is Monk, and we're here to chat comics today.
Hey buddy, how you doing?
Doing well, my friend. I also wanted to say a big thank you to the IWEP network for
Oh my
hosting
gosh,
us.
I know who those guys are.
You know those guys.
I do know those guys.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've been on the IWEP network. Stands for the Interviews with Everyday People network. That is the Interviews with Everyday People is a podcast that was kind of the first of this whole network, and I think I've been on that podcast more times than anyone else. Which makes I should get a crown. Actually, Anthony was very kind to me. He gave me, they used to have a banner, their first banner. He gave that to me. And I was just looking at that today when I was cleaning up my room and making my new spot where you guys can see more of the wall behind me. Kind of, you can't really see any of the comics, but you know they're there, which is cool. And Mark, you might ask yourself, why do I have so much free time on myself today?
Why? Yeah, buddy. Why?
I didn't say that right.
What? Yeah, but I think we all got what you were getting at. Why is it you've had so much free time to get out of your little corner there and spread out the room?
I'm like a bird that's finally gotten to the stage of flying, which is all birds should do. But I have the novel coronavirus, COVID-19.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So because of that, I wasn't able to go to the comic book shop today to get my pools because I don't want to get people sick.
That's 2 weeks in a row now that one of us wasn't able to get our polls.
Yeah, and then what's happening next week?
Oh, and then next week I'm not even going to be here because I'm going camping, and you could do it by yourself if you want.
It wouldn't be half as much fun. And I used to do a comic podcast by myself. I think you remember that.
Yeah. What did you call that?
Stone and Nerdy, which is where I got my It's going under right at the moment. Stone
there
and Nerdy.
There it goes, flying by.
Oh my gosh. So I also have our podcast streaming on the television behind me, and it doesn't really look, you can't see anything from this angle, just kind of looks ridiculous.
Hey, I'm gonna do a test
and see how long
I'm watching in the background.
I think I saw it, but again, it's not very good quality. Is this good content?
There it goes.
Did it finally go?
It's quality content. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Wow. I'm gonna shut that off just so it's not distracting.
Anywho, well, since you didn't get your comics today, you still knew what you were probably gonna get. Do you want to tell us what you were gonna get?
I do, and I do. Just a heads up, I feel a sneeze coming along, so at some point in time I might sneeze. Also, I might
just
cough
don't sneeze into the mic.
No, I will sneeze into this fan that's sitting next to me and get showered in it. But yeah. So I actually went to the comic shop this past weekend before I went into quarantine. And I was kind of bored just at home. So I was like, I'm going to just go pick up some comics. And the comic that I've really been wanting to read, that's like been sitting on the shelf and like tempting me and teasing me every time I come through, is this one right here. And I mentioned it last week. It is Public Domain by Chip Zdarsky.
Oh, you got that?
I did. I ended up getting the first 2 copies.
Oh man,
or issue 1 and 2, as we say in the industry.
Is it not in a trade paperback yet?
No, this is currently coming out.
I for some reason I thought it had already at least finished the first arc, but
no. Yeah, I'm going to be talking about it later. I read the first issue last night in the bathtub, and spoiler alert, I really enjoyed it. It made my bath time so much better. But
did you have one of those things that went across your bath?
No, I'm
prop your book up.
I'm a dangerous boy, and I just hold it in my dry hands. I did that. I have to get into the bathtub by standing or doing like this, so I don't get my hands wet, so I can read comics. I'm a monster. But speaking of monsters,
I'm a monster.
I'm a monster. Little Monsters is number 6 is supposed to come out this week, correct?
That is correct. And
did you get yourself one?
I sure did. You want me to pull it out?
Yeah, why not? Because I was gonna try to pull it up on my phone, but I feel like that would just look ridiculous.
That would look
Maybe not.
ridiculous.
This is a
Let's
variant
see. Here it
cover.
is. Oh, you got. That's the one
So
you would have gotten.
sure, why not?
Maybe.
Let's say that.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think mine's a variant cover. I think mine's
no,
like the
but
main
that's
cover.
it. That I really like that cover.
Ooh, on the back it says, "But we always do everything together." And then on the front we got some bloody lips. Look at that.
Man, that definitely looks like little monsters. I mean, we talked about it last week about my relationship with that comic.
Yeah.
But seeing that cover, I'm like, damn it, now I want to read it. This
Yeah.
I don't know.
We got a little,
Jeff Lemire just has a curse, a charm set over me that everything he does, I'm just so inebriated by.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about it before, but I even went back and read. I don't know if I finished all of them, but I read at least the first arc of his Green Arrow series that he did back when the New 52 first started.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, like, I was just like, when New 52 started, that was when I was getting back into comics again after some time off. And so I just went Batman and Superman for the most part. And then somebody had told me, I remember the comic book shop guys like, oh, and like Aquaman's supposed to be really good. I did not enjoy Aquaman. I think I did the first arc of that and quit.
Yeah, I started reading that too and just fell off. Not at the time, but in hindsight, I know I'd got a torrent of it at some point because I'd seen some good panels, but it was
yeah. But yeah, I wasn't really familiar with Jeff back then. Had I been, I may have hopped on to the Green Arrow series back then, but he picked up on like issue 16 or 17. So he was starting a new arc for it, but yeah, I really enjoyed what I had read of it, and I'll probably I might have. I stopped reading it because I let my DC Infinite thing expire.
Oh yeah, that thing died so quietly. The DC Infinite thing. It was a streaming service. Remember that DC had a streaming service for like 2 months.
Yeah, and now it's all just HBO, but like they still have I think it's DC Infinite. It's just now like what they're like Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah, that would make sense. But look at that perfect segue into another a DC comic that came out this week. I didn't get it, but I'm gonna get it. Oh, I hope. I'm so scared. I didn't tell my comic book shop to put this into my pool list yet. I should probably message them, but I'm like legitimately scared that I'm gonna get to the comic shop and it's not going to be there. But this is Batman 126.
God damn it! Did that come out today?
Yeah.
Man, I knew I should have looked. I knew I should have looked on the shelf. I was like, not today, no. So
you always got to look on the shelf. It happens to me, and I'm not saying this is like a shot at my comic book shop by any means, but like sometimes they just forget, or like you forget, and so always check the shelves.
Or sometimes you just don't inform them in time, which is usually my fault. When I don't get an issue, like there was something I was supposed to get today that I'm actually glad I didn't get because I just I didn't. I do like it seems interesting, but it's more I might just watch it until the trade paperback comes out. But it was put out by Behemoth.
You say it in such a biblical way. I mean,
I do.
Probably how you're familiar with that word. The Behemoth.
I am. Yeah.
The Behemoth.
In the book. But yeah, it was based on the video game. Shoot.
You got this video game. San Andreas.
No,
Frogger.
GTA.
Oh
man, what was it?
I'll Galaxy
find
Quest. I don't know. Galaxy Quest isn't a video game, is it? Who knows? Anyways, we didn't even really talk about Batman 126. So I think it might have been
come out today.
When did we talk about Batman 125? Which is
that was like last week. Or
I
2
think
weeks
it was
ago, at least.
Yeah, it was either last week or the week before. But Batman 125 was the start of the Chip Zdarsky run, who also is doing that public domain.
Yeah.
So it would have just been a Chip Zdarsky week for me if I would have went to the comic shop. And I forgot to say, yeah, so Chip Zdarsky is writing this. Belen Ortega is the artist, and the colorist is Tomio Mori. Another colorist is Luis Guerrero. The letterer is Clayton Cowie. And yeah, I wanted to make sure I give all them credit because at least from the last issue that they all did together was like top to bottom phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's Batman, so it's kind of just gotta be good, right?
It sure does.
It should be.
It should sure be.
But
Sure,
the last
sure
comic that
should be
I
there.
sure should be. That sounds like a good Twitter handle. Sure should be. Or it sounds like a businessman. Hi, I'm sure should be. Are you covered by the right side of the law? You sure should be.
That just makes me think of blah blah blah.
Well, good.
From Arrested Development. Did you ever watch that?
I watched the first season, maybe.
Their second lawyer in the series was named Bob Lobb.
I don't remember.
And then his firm was Bob blah blah.
That's a better joke than I came up with.
But sure is,
you know what isn't a better joke than I came up with is the vineyard from the vineyard from Aftershock Studios. I know I'm getting this for sure. I had them pull that down at the shop, and that is from Brian Hotkins and Sammy Kavala. I'm pretty sure I've read comics from both of them. Let's see if I can go look at what Brian has. Man, I'd never use the League of Comics apps when I'm doing my pulls because I normally have my pulls, but this is actually a lot nicer because just all the information is right here.
Yeah. Right,
but no, so the Vineyard is a family-owned winery that sows and reaps by the blessings of the great god of wine and revelry, Danaeus. However, the Vines family's patron god requires complete devotion in the forms of 4 sacrificial killings a year before each harvest. This has been done in unfettering obedience, but all that changed when the family's patriarch, Danichi Vines, was in a horrible accident that left him paralyzed in a wheelchair. Now the sacrificial and murderous duties of the Vine family have fallen to the wife and the matriarch, Monomarth Vines. With harvest season fast approaching and the family short on their annual sacrificial killings, Martha struggles with her conscience, puts all of her family, husband, son, and daughter in jeopardy.
I was reading along with you.
How terrible did I do at pronouncing those names?
I'm more just going back to where it says where you said unfettered obedience, and it's unfettered obeisance. Which obeisance, I'm just learning this. I looked it up because it was interesting. It was an interesting word. It's spelled OBEISANCE. Obeisance. It's differential respect.
Oh,
I like that word. Yeah.
Wow. So hats off to the people at Aftershock for. I mean, we talk every week about how much we enjoy Aftershock's comics. So I really loved that synopsis. That sounded like a lot of fun to me.
Yeah.
Something that I realized this week, I mean, I've had this thought before, but I really love horror comics.
Oh yeah.
And there's just something about them that is just very enjoyable.
It's
that's
weird.
The most
it's
vague
weird.
statement, but yeah.
Something that's weird to me is growing up, and this is also part of the cultural bubble that I was in, but like I always thought like horror was stupid because I was always told like Stephen King was like a bad person to like read and or like watch his movies. It just wasn't good. And now I'm going through like, well, at least my wife is going through a pretty serious Stephen King kick. She's going to be starting her 12th Stephen King book inside of a year pretty soon. And she's already read like the 3 or 4 biggest works of his too. But yeah, like now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like starting to like really get into like horror stuff, and I'm loving it. Like, and that's I've been reading a lot of Stephen King alongside my wife. I've been getting a lot of horror comics. I've been watching a lot more horror movies. It's just there's something to be said about
there's something to be said about the state of the world that probably makes you have some catharsis. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the pools that you got this week, my friend Mark.
So wait, that was your last one that
that was my last one.
Is the vineyard? I'm so interested in that one.
Yeah, it looks really good. There was so many comics out this week. I mean, I know I say that every week, but there was a lot of like new stuff for especially DC. I noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
why don't I just start with my DC that we already kind of brought up. There's actually I got two of them because one is let me bring it up here real quick before I. Okay, here we go. This is what I want. Okay, so two of them came out. One of them is a one shot, and it's Sword of Azrael, Dark Night of the Soul. So, from what I understand about this being the one shot, is that this is actually issues 8 through 10 from Batman Urban Legend, just put into one comic, because it is more of an introduction to what the next one I'm about to hold up, which is just Sword of Azrael. Now, what do you know anything about this character?
This is the Batman character Azrael that was like from the Nightfall, Night Quest.
Yes. I
kind of in the back of my mind I was like, Mark's gonna be really proud of me that I know this.
I am so proud of you. And I brought it up to my guy at the comic book shop today, and he's like, I have no idea who this character is. I'm like, oh, you don't? Because I read the novelization of Batman Nightfall. And like
I bet that was really good.
It was. I read it my junior year in high school and did like a full book report on it.
Nice.
Like, I don't know, it was like a book report, but it was like a featured book report thing, not like just a paper. Like I had to do a whole presentation on it and stuff.
That's like one of the most Mark things that you could have done, but continue.
Yeah, that's what I've always been me. So but yeah, so like Azrael comes from the Nightfall series and so this is the story. Some people might now be triggered by remembering what it is, but this is the story in which Bane breaks Batman's back and like paralyzes him from the waist down for a little while. And they needed to keep Batman going, and Batman had met Azrael. Azrael kind of came into Gotham as somebody else who kind of the same as Batman, but a little more like crusade-y, I guess. And like I mean Batman's a crusader as well, but like more of the religious aspect of it.
Zealot is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. When I saw it coming out, and like I think I noticed it back when you and I were talking about like we need to start giving DC more of a shot and stop just throwing them under the bus, because DC is great. Like I mean they've lived longer than us, but they've lived up to like being a great storytelling company for decades. And so I'm really glad that they brought this one back around. So yeah, I'm excited to get into those two. Then my next ones, I need to bag those in a second. I'm gonna leave them right there. So yeah, I got two DC, so that was fun. My next one here is from Image Comics. It is called The Dead Lucky.
I saw this.
Yeah.
What is this about?
Oh, another thing I should mention too, Sword of Azrael. It's written by Dan Waters. The artist is Nicola Sismesija. Sorry. The colorist is Ivan Plaskasina, and the letter is Ariana Mar.
Grande. Nice.
Yes. And I believe it's the same team. Yeah, it's the same team on both issues that I held up there. So that's pretty great. But Dead Lucky.
Can I just say real quick? I think it's pretty dope that that they're doing a series and also a one shot. I don't think I can think of anything that's ever kind of done something like that before. Maybe like one shots after something comes out, or like obviously that you have annuals, but one shot. Well, to release them at the same time is a little new, and I'll just say that I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I like the side by side release because it just makes me more excited to like read both of them. Especially like the follow up, which is like the new ongoing series. So Dead Lucky. Let me hold up that cover again. because I really like it. It's
That is pretty dope.
yeah. So it seems like it's a futuristic kind of, I don't know. There's probably like some sort of gang that this person's gonna fight. That's just what I'm getting.
There's gonna be, I don't know, a gang. They're gonna, I don't know, rob a bank.
But like kind of the tagline for it is, it's not the good that die young. So that's alluring in itself. And this is a debut for this writer. It's Melissa Flores. And then the art team, it's called the Superstar art team, actually. French Carlomagno and Mattia Iacono. They do Radiant Black.
Oh, nice.
And I've never read Radiant Black, but I'm familiar with the artwork based on the covers. And when I just really like this cover, and it very much syncs up with this Superstar art team that they're.
And where is that from?
It's from Image, and it's part of. I wanted to ask you about this because I'm not familiar, or maybe I am, and I don't remember that this is what it's called. But it's the newest book for the Massive Verse.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so
somebody who's more in depth at comics, leave us in the comments about what that's about. We'll have to give that a Google at some point.
I really like when my my ignorance is brought forward, and people have to tell me things that I pretended to maybe know somebody else. The next one I got is from Dark Horse Comics. This one just looks fun because I grew up, watching, Big Bird and Kermit the Frog and all that. And so this one's called Survival Street. And it looks like a play on some Muppets. So you'll see that it's survival is written over another word. It is Salutation Street.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So
I thought it was just Sesame Street.
Yeah. This one actually grabbed me because I thought it was a Scout comic when I first saw the image, and then I saw the Dark Horse label on it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it anyway. Because I'm also a big fan of the Muppets. I don't think anybody would be surprised by me saying that I like the Muppets.
No.
Muppets have always offered me.
And also, humor. I have like a vague memory of watching a Muppets Christmas Tale with you at some point in time, or something like that.
Oh yeah, dude! I probably every Christmas we spent together, man. I watch it every year.
That's fantastic. But keep me posted on that, because that does seem very very interesting. How's the art look?
The art looks pretty good. I mean, it's pretty much just the cover, like the same like as the cover art.
Okay.
But let me see if there's. I haven't really. Ooh, there's some cool looking characters in here.
There you go.
But it looks very Muppety.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. I guess it's probably hard to like translate Muppets to stilled imagery, because I think part of the allure of the Muppets is like the ragginess of them, or also the like floppiness,
Yeah.
So,
and then I got one more. Today. And honestly, okay, so a little backstory on this one. I asked to pull this just because I think I added this to my list a long time ago, and the artwork wasn't even up for it on League of Comic Geeks. So I didn't actually see what the cover was. It's by the title alone that I was like, yes. And then I do know that it was like the minimal like publisher summary that they had for it at that time too. It said this line. It said The Exorcist meets Alien in the sci-fi horror story. So speaking of horror, okay, but then there wasn't anything else beyond that. So no cover, and the only line that it had so far was The Exorcist meets Alien in the sci-fi horror story. It's called Sacrament.
Okay.
The cover is kind of freaky.
Ooh.
Yeah. There's even the T looks like an upside down cross, which is here. Little history for everybody. I
There you
know
go.
that people love the upside down cross, but do you know what it was first used to depict in any as any icon for anything?
I know.
Yes, Tim, Monk, what do you got?
It's because Saint Peter was crucified upside down because he said, "I'm not worthy to be crucified in the same manner as my Lord."
That's true. And then in the cathedral where he's supposedly buried or was supposedly buried, that's the first time in human history that we have the upside down cross marked on anything is for
Really?
Saint Peter's memorial stone type
Yeah,
thing.
but it wouldn't be Saint Peter if it didn't go awry. Am I right?
Right? Exactly.
Anyways,
Exactly. So it's
that looks
yeah.
super interesting.
And then I had seen a preview of it earlier this week too. It was something I think got put up on Instagram, and the image that it showed just kind of like really terrifying. Oh, this artwork's pretty. I like this. This is very fitting. I'm going to talk about this next week for sure.
Man,
I'm not going to. I'm
I
not
just
going
want
to
to
give
go
you.
through and read some. Since I'm off work this week, I might just be sitting at home in a dark corner reading spooky horror comics.
Yeah. Oh, this. Yeah. So it's basically the image that got shared is pretty much what the cover is based on.
Ooh. Okay, I have seen that image. The man upside down. So I guess maybe I might have seen it on.
That's what's on the cover, but then like the one
maybe
that's in here, is
it looks a lot more bloody.
there's more detail to it, and he's bloody and hanging upside down. So
Oh god.
what was that?
That was my Amazon Home thing.
Oh.
I have no idea how that happened. Anyways.
But yeah, so I'm excited to read that just because yes, we did just talk about being excited about like horror comics, been reading a lot more of those. But this one it's pretty daunting to me. And I like to look things that are daunting in the face and be like, nah, you're fascinating.
What's different from I guess from just the minimal that I know, it doesn't seem like it's not like shock. Like a lot of the like Red Room kind of stuff is just like gross, like intentionally offensive stuff. Maybe this is just trying to tell a genuinely like horror meets like psychological horror meets visual horror, that sweet spot.
Well, and it also just makes me think of oh man, it was an Anthony Hopkins movie, The Right, I think.
I never saw it.
Oh, it's really good. But yeah.
Well, that's probably why he's a knight.
That's probably it. Yeah, because that movie.
Speaking
alone.
of somebody that I think should be a knight, you know who I think should be knighted?
Who?
Our good friend Chip Zdarsky.
Why is that?
I'm pretty sure I don't know where he's from. I would have just assumed in my ignorance that he's from America. But yeah, if he's not, he should be knighted. You know, and even if he isn't, he should be knighted. I'm sure it means very little. But I think he might be doing this all by himself. Now that I have this open, I was going to compliment the artist, and I'm not seeing any on the inside. It just says Chip Zdarsky. So maybe look that up for me while I'm chit-chatting. But
yeah,
basically, the concept of this is that we follow a young man whose name I always forget because I'm not good at Dave. No, it's not Dave. Dave's his brother's name. Anyways, so this story is about a family who's the patriarch of the family, the father figure. He is a comic book artist, and he worked on a comic called The Domain. What are you laughing about?
So it is all by Chip. He is credited as the writer, artist, and cover artist for this series, and he's not American.
Where's he from?
Canada.
No, Canadians can't be knighted either, but that's better to be Canadian than American. I shouldn't have said that. I'm American. Wherever you're from, it doesn't matter. Just be a good person. Yeah. But you know who is a good person? Chip Zdarsky. Because I gotta say, man, this is like I was explaining this comic to my girlfriend yesterday, and I was talking about the art, and I'm like, this seems like it's the new standard, of just being like, this is kind of what this style and this whatever. Should have picked a better page. Hold on. Yeah, this style I think is just very like what modern comics kind of look like. It's still like cartoony, but it's also like realistic, and it's not like too old fashioned. It's yeah, I just feel like it's at a very sweet spot.
Yeah.
But like I said, the story is about a family who the father is a comic book artist. His book that he worked on, The Domain, becomes very popular with a very large publishing company, and they start to make movies out of the character.
Okay.
So the comic is about how the artist was only getting like $5,000 per movie, and they would fly him out there. And so this is literally about the MCU. And
Yeah.
I think it is so fucking awesome that he is just being, and Chip Zdarsky wrote for Daredevil. I have
Yeah.
Daredevil hanging up back there that he wrote, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so awesome that he's like, I see this problem in the comic book industry, and I want to address it. So for those of you who don't know, the MP artists that have contributed to the characters, artists and writers that have contributed to the MCU, they don't get dick when it comes to being compensated for the work that they've done, the characters that they've created, and the stories that they've made,
Yeah.
And it's a real problem because you wouldn't have the MCU without them. You just wouldn't. Either the characters would fade away, and the characters never would have been there.
Yeah. Right. Well, and just I mean, like we even like, let's get into that too. And it's just recently like Love and Thunder came out, and Jason Aaron wrote a lot of the comic book series of Thor, in which Love and Thunder was based on. So Jason Aaron is getting dick, is what you're saying. Yeah.
They don't make money. I don't really want to go into it because I don't want to get it wrong, but this isn't the place to talk about it. But just look into it, and you'll find it that artists are not being fairly compensated. I mean, Ed Brubaker, who made The Winter Soldier, he was in the movie, but didn't even make really any money off of it. I don't even know if, I'm sure he was credited somewhere in the credits, but you should be like right up there with Sebastian Stan and Chris Evans, because again, you wouldn't have these you wouldn't have Captain America, without these people. So I just think that this is really great. There's I don't want to spoil too much, but there's just a lot of creative how do you say, the storytelling in like these characters that have wrote The Domain, the artist and the writer, are kind of like a Stan Lee and a Jack Kirby archetype, but not really, because they're not as either happy or as jaded as those two kind of seemed. But yeah, I just really enjoyed it, and I just thought it was very, like, my hat is off. It's very brave of Chip to just kind of be, not so subtly pointing out this problem, and for a company that probably gave him a decent paycheck for the Daredevil stuff that he did, so I love artists with integrity, and that's what I see this as. So I haven't gotten into issue 2 yet. Maybe he just takes all that back and I just made a fool out of myself, but I doubt it. And I feel like this is going to go really well.
Right on. Well, I'm fairly interested in that. So let me know how it goes, and I might pick up the first trade paperback for it.
Can do, boss.
Yeah, buddy. Can I talk about one of mine?
Absolutely.
Sweet. Where do I start?
But you have to do a fun segue like I normally do.
Did it bet, did it,
Yeah, I was
That
talking more
was
about like a turn of a phrase, but a sweet little ditty works too.
yeah. Well, you said a fun transition, and a ditty felt
Fun.
correct and
Yeah,
fun.
there
I
you go.
think I'm a first. I'm just going to point out these two real quick. I mentioned this one last week, Defenders Beyond. I finished reading it. I
Mhm.
loved it. I posted about it on Instagram. You can read my post and chat with me about it more there if anybody wants to. But I really enjoyed it. It was really fun in the sense of like it really does dig deep into like Marvel's history of how like the Defenders are done. And I really liked it, so I recommend picking it up. The other one is I forgot that I had ordered this one up here a long time ago. It's called Primos.
Okay.
Um, and on the front cover, basically, it's just Primos. It mixes Maya legend with Latino culture to create a new comic book like group of heroes.
Yeah.
And like they're all cousins, and they are descendants of like uh, essentially it's like who the ruler of the Mayans was, and he went
Mhm.
off on this like trip with his brother, and when him and his brother came back, it had gone like way, way, way into the future,
Hmm.
and now like the world is like coming to an end, so they have to find and then the two brothers, it's like a Cain and Abel situation, like the two
Mhm.
brothers didn't get along
Mhm.
upon the
Classic
return,
brothers.
and so one of them's kind of trying to find all the descendants from their line and show them the powers that they have to fight. So it's pretty exciting. Uh, I'm really enjoying it. I got one little bit left of reading that one, but what I first want to talk about today is all three of my polls last week, which is Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, Obi-Wan, and Dr. Aphra. I gave all of these 5 out of 5 stars on
Damn.
my ratings for them. I had a great week. So I'm going to start with Dr.
Awesome.
Aphra.
That works.
Dr. Aphra is I've mentioned it before and I'm sticking with it, but it is definitely one of my top 2 favorite Star Wars series. It kind of battles back and forth between that and Darth Vader.
Mm.
Um, but Dr. Aphra is just, her first arc was basically she was kind of like not really a sidekick of Darth Vader, but like she worked under the thumb of Darth Vader. She's an archaeologist. She's kind of like an Indiana Jones for like the Star Wars galaxy. And she
Mhm.
specializes in the archaeology of like Sith artifacts.
Mm.
And what's going on right now in this series is that she's possessed by this artifact called I believe it's called the Spark Eternal. No, that's Transformers.
You got
Man,
this.
what is it called?
I don't know. So I'm trying to think of something that sounds very Sithy, and all I
You
can think
know,
of is like dark alleys. The dark
what?
allegigan.
um,
What it's called.
yeah, no, it is. It's called the Spark Eternal.
Okay.
Did I say the Eternal Spark?
No, you said Spark Eternal.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So Spark
Is this?
Eternal.
Are we
Yeah.
discovering that Star Wars is ripping off Transformers?
I mean, at this point, with how many ways there are to tell stories, everybody's ripping off everybody in some way or form. And, I think
That's
that that's
fair.
just how you're supposed to do things anyway.
Storytelling.
But yeah, so what's going on though in this issue is that she's in her mind, like fighting the Spark Eternal, who's like possessing her physical body. So the body that everybody else sees is the possessed version of her. And she's just trapped in her mind.
Hmm.
And then the Spark Eternal is like kind of showing off its powers over her. And
Okay.
anyways, they start going through memories, and because of the abilities of the Spark Eternal, Spark Eternal can really just bring you back to any memory in full detail from the exact way that it happened.
Hmm.
And so then Dr. Aphra tricks the Spark Eternal into going to and while this is happening, Spark Eternal is like, I know you from somewhere. Like, I know you, Dr. Aphra, from somewhere. Like, why do I know you?
So interesting.
And it's because like earlier back in this overall arching story, and I think this might have happened during War of the Bounty Hunters, she came across another Sith artifact imbued with powers, which gave like the telekinetic powers in a sense, like, but it because she used it, the Spark Eternal like knew who she was, but she couldn't figure that, or the Spark Eternal hadn't figured that out yet. And so Dr. Aphra kind of tricks the Spark Eternal into going to that memory where they met. And the issue ends with Dr. Aphra basically saying to the Spark Eternal, like, yeah, just like I defeated that artifact in which we met, I can defeat you too, because that's all you are, as an artifact. And like that's where that issue ended, and it was just super exciting. I loved it. And again, so if you're looking for a very exciting Star Wars series to be getting into, go back to the very first Dr. Aphra series, start there, and then make your way to what's running, because they're just so well done. And like the first series too, in which she's like with Darth Vader, like there's just excitement on like almost every single page. So
wow. Yeah, I was actually reading some Star Wars this past week at your suggestion. It was the Age of Rebellion.
oh yeah,
it was just a compilation of 8 stories. And God, I've said this before, and I'll probably get this tattooed on my back one day, but Star Wars is so good when it's good, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's so enjoyable and it's so much fun. I really do need to jump in on that arc.
Yeah.
But speaking of possession and fun transitions, so let's talk about a comic that there was the comic this week that I was reading when I had that realization of like, oh yeah, I love horror comics. And this isn't really a horror comic, but it has horror tropes and horror tendencies. I won't say tropes because that kind of makes it sound like a bad thing, but nods to classic horror stuff. And it is I Hate This Place, number 3.
Oh yeah. Which I hopped off that train after issue 1, which is rare.
I see. I didn't even remember that you were on this.
Yeah.
Because I have such a weird relationship with this comic, and hopefully it's going to change. But I always kind of forget about it, or I don't remember how. For some reason, my brain tells itself that I'm not enjoying it as much as I am, but then I read it and I'm like, this shit's great. I love it. And so if I don't know if this is just gonna be a mini series or if it's ongoing, but I kind of hope it's ongoing because it's I can see it getting to that place of that Texas blood where I'm really looking forward to getting it every month. You know, that's like I said, that Texas blood is probably my favorite comic out right now. And so this is definitely, I feel like it's gonna end up in a similar spot. And they're both from Image Comics. This is from Kyle Starks and Trom Toplin and Lee Lowridge. I think I did actually a good job at saying all of those names.
You did.
But so for those of you that haven't watched an episode where I've talked about this before, this couple here on the front cover, these two ladies, they inherit a farm from this middle person's and some relative that passed away, and the farm is cursed. So it's cursed with like UFOs and zombies. There's stuff that live in the woods. There's stuff that, and spoiler alert in this episode, but there's stuff that live in the ground. And so they're kind of trying to figure out how to get rid of this curse. And so they call in this like extreme exorcist, and his name is Dante Howlertz, and that's him right there. And he's just like super fun. He talks about how he has a one gun to deal with the people that are possessed and one gun to like deal with ghosts. And yeah, it's just like this line right here is he just says, I did 2 tours in Afghanistan. I'm extradited exorcist with the Catholic Church, and I'm not scared of shit, and I don't fuck around. And so it's just it's just like good fucking I think it's, you don't think that it's going to be funny because the art is kind of serious, but it's there's just really good jokes all over the place. And I really don't have much more to say about it because I've talked about it to death, and I don't want to spoil anything. But if you're looking for a comic that hits kind of the funny bone and also kind of you know, it's not scary, but it's thrilling. You know, it's that kind of
Yeah.
horror aspect of like what's happening here, and you're scared of, somebody gonna get hurt and or yada yada and so on and so forth. But
It
yeah,
kind of they kind of make like the way you talk about it, and like from what I remember from issue one, it kind of makes me think of the Bruce Campbell horror movies,
um,
Night of the Living
Dead or
Dead.
Alive, yeah.
Yeah,
But then
that's what
also
it.
the song "I'm Wanted Dead or Alive" came in my head when
Huh.
we were
Something that
talking
you've
about that.
reminded me of once again is I'm doing a terrible job of mentioning the creators. And so
Oh,
just real quick for Dr. Aphra,
hmm,
the right is Alyssa Wong. So I'm glad that they're letting a female write this series,
yeah,
and
and
all hats off to Alyssa Wong because she's doing great. Um, and the artist is Natasha Bustos. The artist is Minkyu Jung, and the colorist is Rochelle Rosenberg.
that's awesome.
So, yeah.
That sounds like a nice diverse team, which some people in the Star Wars world would be opposed, but not us. Not us here at the Pool Box Pals. We love
Uh,
diversity.
we do. We love diversity, and Star Wars actually loves diversity. So those
Star
people
Wars
that
does.
you just mentioned, like you need to keep reading Star Wars a little bit more because you'll
Yeah.
realize that Star Wars loves diversity.
Yes, it
But
does.
anyways, that's the creators of Dr. Aphra. Sorry to cut your.
Oh no, I
I
I
hate
was
this
I
list.
wrapped it on up. You want to talk about another whatever comic?
Yeah, let me just go ahead and do Obi-Wan real quick, and then
Sure.
I'll talk about the Righteous Thirst for Vengeance last. But Obi-Wan, this issue is great. 5 out of 5, as I already mentioned. I was right that this is Commander Cody that's on the cover with him. I had mentioned that last week.
Nice.
And
Look at you.
again, this series is Alec McGinnis's Obi-Wan right before A New Hope, reflecting back on like the heroic adventures of his life, and he's just
Hmm.
asking questions, and like there's a pretty big question he's trying to ask in this one, and it's what is a Jedi's true purpose in war. And so
Hmm.
going back to this issue and what's going on is, him and Commander Cody have to lead this like mission to capture these plans before the separatists get their hands on it, or no, before they can like build it. So it's kind of like the rebels going after the Death Star plans type
Hmm.
scenario. But um, a lot of death happens in this one
Hmm.
around Obi-Wan, and he loses a lot of his team, and he's
Hmm.
stuck with that question of like, well, a, a key thing for a Jedi is to serve and protect, you know, those that can't protect themselves. And that includes people who are also, clones in battle who are going to die fighting
Hmm.
battle because they're not Jedi and they can't use the Force to advance in those things. And so it was just more of this one about like him and his relationship to like the clones, and then
Hmm.
like as somebody who's supposed to preserve peace in the galaxy, what is his purpose in war?
Hmm.
And there's a certain scene in it too where he just like reflects back, and he's just like, if I could go back, this is the moment that I would want to be stuck in. And it was like the moments right before war. Oh, he met a new clone who like had just come into the infantry or whatever, fresh
Hmm.
fresh off the line of clones, I guess. uh, um and I think it was like just meeting that clone. He was just like, that's, if I could go back, that's where I would like to stay, is
Hmm.
meeting Arrow, that's his name. um
And
and
what's the reason for wanting to stay there?
because it was peaceful, it was before
Hmm.
like everything like broke out, and it was just getting to know like a new person, um
Yeah.
which, yeah, take your time to meet and get to know people. But yeah, it's just really well done. This if I'll say this, if you were hurt by the way that the series Obi-Wan went, this might be a good way to like make up for it, as this comic book series. I do
Okay.
tell people all the time, I tell Kate, like, the real stories of Star Wars right now are really just happening in the comics because there's so much character development going on.
Hmm.
And this is where they're going to be building characters that we're going to be seeing in the live action shows and movies coming forward. So
Yeah.
it's a good thing to hop on, is just, pick a Star Wars series. If you want it to be Dr. Aphra, great. I'd highly recommend it. But if you're looking for something that's going to be a little more limited, Obi-Wan's not a bad place to go either, because
I might just read that issue either at like a comic shop or like just pick it up and read it, or wait for it to, because it just seems like it's I mean, I'm sure I could read the whole thing at one point in time whenever it comes on Comixology or Marvel Unlimited, but I've said this before on the podcast, but I'm a big fan of being able to just pull a comic off the shelf and read it, and I feel like you could probably really do that with that comic.
So I've mentioned it too before, that with comics, one of the things that's so great about it is like just the amount of storytelling that's done. And to kind of like do a ratio here, like the kind of rule of thumb with comics is if you want to turn that first page of panels to the second page of panels, you probably want to read the whole comic. If you're not interested in the first couple of panels that are on the first page, you probably don't want to read it. The same is said about like books. Like if you want to turn from page 99 to page 100, which that's a lot of reading in comparison to what you would get in the first page of reading a comic. But yeah, that's just something I've heard, is like if you want to turn page 99 to page 100, you probably want to read the whole book. And that's that's for like books that are probably more than the 250 range. But
right.
But yeah, it's just last thing. The writers for Obi-Wan, it's Christopher Cantwell. Artist is Alessandro Miracolo. Colorist is Frank William, and the letterer is Joe Caramagna.
Caramagna. Yeah, we do our best here trying to say the names.
Yeah, we sure do. But yeah, you got another one there. You got another one there, pal?
I do. I don't have a fun segue for this, so due to DB, it's Ant-Man.
Oh yeah, you were real excited about this one.
I love Ant-Man.
Yes, you do.
You probably can't see it, but that like middle row, there's at least one. I mean, from the beginning up to like the Avengers, right there. There's a lot of There's a lot of Ant-Man up there. I love Ant-Man. The reason I love Ant-Man is because it's a simple concept, and if you can't do simple well, then get out. And it's like it's a T-ball, right? Like it's a like a underhand throw. Like, here, do something fun. Like that's all that it is. It's just like, can you do something fun? So I think that's a huge reason as to why I love the Ant-Man mythos. Obviously he has some like troubled past and all that stuff, the Hank Pym version of Ant-Man, and even the other versions of Ant-Man aren't perfect. But so this comic starts off in the future, and it says it is 99 AU, which might be after Ultron, so this could be an alternate reality.
Okay.
So that's what I'm assuming that means, but I don't 100% know. Or it is the year 2549 AD. But there is a character in that point in time. I don't think there's a name listed, but is that gentleman right there? And sorry. And he uses some sort of like Doctor Doom sort of I'll just show you this whole page because it kind of just sums it up. But he uses like a Doctor Doom pad to go back to the I guess this is what, 60 years. So what's 60 from the 1960s to Hank Pym era time. And then from that point in time, all the comic is then done in the style of like an old like a golden age or silver age, awesome. Whatever that would be. Yeah. And so like even up in the corners that says like it has those old timey like Stan Lee narratives up in the corners that are like that narrate it and kind of add that like extra pizzazz, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They kind of what have become like the modern thought bubbles for just comics nowadays, but that used to just be kind of done by a narrator. So Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, they're at the movies. Some kid is throwing popcorn at them, and it turns out to be Eric O'Grady, who is the third Ant-Man. So they're doing a little bit of a retcon here. As far as I know, those two hadn't interacted prior to, later on when Eric O'Grady gets introduced. But he throws popcorn at Hank Pym. So, and then he goes to buy more popcorn so he can throw it more at Hank Pym. And then Hank Pym goes out to like yell at him. And that's when he sees like this other guy from the future, and he does some stuff with some ants. That's pretty cool. I don't want to spoil that. So Hank Pym, I forget how. Hank Pym then gets ambushed by a group of his rogues gallery. So they come together to form a team, which is I mentioned this last week when I was talking about this comic. It's the antagonists. So that's what like this rogues group is called. That's like Spider-Man's Sinister Six. Ant-Man's is the antagonist, and I'm pretty sure this is all new. But I got to see if I can find the page with these fucking villains on it because they're ridiculous. Like one is just called the window washer. Yeah. And he has like paralyzing fluid. Oh my god. There's Protection Racket, which is just like an old timey mob looking dude that I guess just beats them up people. And then there's a
so like Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah,
I'm a Wreck-It.
Yeah, I mean he looks like that's him right there. So it's just like a old timey tough guy. And the next one is Targo, which is a guy who has a sax that like psychedelic rays come out of and hit you and like cause you to trip out. So that's what's happening to Hank Pym right there. Like, tell me this isn't a fucking fun comic. Like, all of that is ridiculous. That's so stupid, but it's so. I just love the confidence of some writer being like, "Nah, man, we're committing to this because this is what it's about." And granted, this is a 4-issue arc that covers all of the Ant-Man, so including the new one that's going to be introduced. So it's
the new Ant-Man hasn't been introduced yet.
He has. It's the guy who
goes
it's the
guy who went back in time. Yeah.
As far as I know, his name isn't said in this. I don't remember seeing it anywhere. But I was going to ask you, would you like to see the costume? It's been like it's been online, so it's not like a spoiler or anything. But I love it.
That's very it's kind of reminds me of Miles Morales Spider-Man a little bit.
Yes, it's very reminiscent of that.
But no, I like that a lot.
The helmet's really great. Ooh. For those of you who's
I
watching,
am the Ant-Man.
Yeah, I am the Ant-Man. I like how when they try to make things serious, they add the Batman, the Superman, like whatever, you know. But like I said, this is a 4-issue arc that covers all 4 Ant-Mans. So I'm assuming that each issue is going to be similar, where we see a look at the rogues gallery of the world of the specific Ant-Man and this new Ant-Man's interaction with that time and jumping into that time period. But all of these are going to be done by the same creative team, and that is Al Ewing and Tom Rayleigh, and I forget the artist or the color's name is Jordi Belair. But I'm super stoked for this. I'm like, clearly I love Ant-Man. I actually have the first issue that Scott Lang is Ant-Man in. My girlfriend got me that for.
That's right. You got that for like your birthday or something, right?
Yeah, but Christmas or my birthday or something like that. They're both in December, so I got it for one of my December gifts. So that's like one of my favorite comics that's going on. Mark, would you like to talk about one of your favorite comics that's going on?
I do. I do. A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, man, is just I don't know if anybody read my post that I wrote about it. I started off by saying like I don't think I've experienced storytelling quite like this, and that's very, very true. just seriously, hats off to the creators. It's Rick Remender and Andre Lima Arroyo. I don't know how to say his last name. He reposted my post, so thank you, Andre. It's also got Chris O'Halloran and Russ Wutan. Man, I just this is issue 10, so it's the end of the second arc. Once again, like I gave my brother-in-law like my copy of the first arc. I gave like because I bought the first volume. I let him borrow it to read it because I just think he'd really like it. But so much of the story is just tell panel by panel, and like you get so much out of each panel. And last issue in issue 9, Sonny and Xavier, they were they were enjoying a time of peace. So the whole first arc happens, so 5 issues, and then issue 6, 7, and 8 come out where they're still kind of like on the run, trying to find safety. And then issue 9, we see them having safety and they're enjoying their time together. They're recovering from this nightmare they've been living together. And then at the end of the last issue, after all these like happy times, that like there was very little, again, dialogue boxes. A lot of it was just told through panel art. And at the end of it, Sonny's mom was at their house, which was a shocker because as I had said, like in issue 5, he was just like, man, I've left my mom to die alone, because he knew he could never go back to see her because he was now going on the run. Well, this issue 10 here picks right up from issue 9, and it's pretty clear that the people that were chasing them found them and brought his mom along just kind of for the extra punch. Something pretty significant happens in this issue. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who might want to read it, but it really is. It's such an emotional roller coaster. Like, it's so exciting. There's so much just like mystery, and there's so much more to be uncovered. The art is just very like real. Like, you just get very trapped in the artwork. And I think I've mentioned it several times too about this series, but if you open up issue 1, like I feel like I'm in that first panel. Like, it just says Vancouver, BC. It's out on the water looking at the city. And you can just hear birds chirping and people going about their daily business, and you can hear the water and the winds. Like at least for me, like I just get so engrossed in this series. And issue 10 just does not disappoint. The event that happens, it's scary and it's sad, but it's also just like it's real, and like they do a really good job of capturing the reality of the story in which they are telling. So yes, thank you again to Rick Remender and Andre Lima Arroyo and Chris O'Halloran and Russ Wutan. That is the writer, artist, colorist, and letterer in that order. So,
and it's from Image as well, right?
It's from Image. It's also the Giant Generator is like another. I think that they're
like a subdivision,
like a subdivision or like an art company.
Okay.
I can't remember. I looked into them one time to see exactly what they were, but they do like specialize in like maybe the digital design of comics. So maybe Andre's using digital stuff to draw out. I'm not entirely certain, but I need to look into that a little bit more. But yeah, it's just, I love this series. Can't recommend it enough.
Maybe I should read it. That thought has never crossed my mind. Just maybe I should read this.
Yeah, I think
there's not a lot of dialogue in it, right?
Right. There's very, very little dialogue. I mean, there's
a lot of times where I'm really looking for that.
And there also another thing that happened in this issue was some of my favorite kind of, because I've mentioned how the art's just so like realistic about the situations. There's some good nudity in this one.
Good. Yeah, male nudity.
Oh yeah.
Good. We talked about the
Okay,
importance of male nudity in comics.
this is a pretty good page because I did kind of mention the guys chasing them found them. There's very little dialogue. There's what,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in total,
Right.
five little speech bubbles, but most of it's just the art and the action that's been drawn out. But yeah, it's just, man. Yeah, here's one. Here's 2 pages of no dialogue.
Wow.
Nothing.
I think I might.
So,
Do you think that's already on Comixology, the first arc?
yeah, it is. You can get the digitals released, so you can buy volume 1
I might do that
on Comixology, and volume 2 releases next month, I believe, maybe mid-September. If you want to wait for that to pop out, but I mean, these issues, they're $3.99 a piece. It's 5, so that's essentially $20, and $19.95 is what you're going to pay in total for if you bought all the issues per arc. And I'm going to go to the series really quick.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I always am kind of looking for something that I can just like look at and enjoy and don't have to read. Because if people watching know like comics like that, please suggest them because I think that's one of the biggest things that deter me from reading comics when I'm like at the place of like the middle ground of should I read or should I not, is am I gonna have to read a lot, you know?
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to have more that are just like contemplative or you enjoy the art more, you know?
Yeah. Volume 2 comes out September 20th. And it'll be $16.99. So again, if you went out and bought every issue, you're going to spend $19.95. If you wait for this to come out, you're going to spend $16.99. So you'll save yourself a couple bucks by waiting till September 20th. First issues or first volumes are always cheaper. The first volume is $9.99. So
is it?
Yeah.
Then I might just buy it.
Yeah.
That's it's
worth it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially supporting a good art team like that.
Yeah, I did try to share that with you, remember? Or no, I tried to share Gideon Gideon Falls. I tried to share Gideon Falls with you on Comixology, but I don't think comics on Comixology work the way that books do on Kindle, where you can share your book. So you have to get it for yourself if you want to read it.
Well, that's fine. But I think it is time for us to land this Pullbox Pals podcast plane.
It has. It's been a fun ride. It's been.
Oh my goodness, it's so nice. I felt like last week we talked a lot about slumps. So it's nice that this week we both got dips. Dips. This week we both got to talk about comics that we really enjoyed. Quickly, I just want to say that I started reading. I was gonna try to quickly read through, do a Powerbomb number 2. And when I opened it, I remember that there was something that happened at the end of the last at issue number 1 that I didn't spoil on the podcast, but I'd forgotten about. And then I opened up and I saw this. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that this world is so much bigger than just wrestling. So I want to go back and I'm probably going to read that at some point, but I just wanted to give a shout out to that, just being a super interesting looking comic in all aspects. But friends, it is time for us to land this plane. This is my cat, Salem.
Should I get my cat too?
I mean, if you can, nearby. Can you hear her? She doesn't sound too happy.
No, Leo's sleeping on my bed. I'm not gonna disturb her.
Yeah, she was sleeping. She just woke up, and that's probably why she's all fusky. And anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out for the pool. Thanks for hanging out for the Pullbox Pals podcast. Wherever you're watching this at, I just ask that you would just give it a like and you would, follow us on whatever platform that you're watching it on. If you're on Twitch, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, just give a like. Go like the page that's there, subscribe to the page. If you could share this with a friend, that would be great. We would super appreciate that. And I know that it would help us out. And a big thank you to the IWEP network for just being great people and having us on here. Mark, it is always a pleasure. We are taking next week off.
That is correct.
Maybe I'll jump on here and do something. Maybe I won't. We'll see.
You'll keep everybody posted.
I'll keep everybody Pullbox posted.
Yes.
Yeah, so thanks again, friends. If you want to let us know what you're reading, we would love to hear that. So you can get in contact with us anywhere on social medias, pretty much at pullboxpals. Mark is mad nerdy on Instagram. I am stoned and nerdy on Twitter and Instagram. So come chat. We would love to talk to you about these comic books, because comic books are fucking awesome, Mark. I don't know if you know that or not.
I do, and that's why I want to talk about them. That's why I like when people comment, so that we can have conversations. And again,
like you can have conversations with artists and creators. It's a great little community, man.
It is.
So I'm happy to be a part of it. I gotta go feed me puppies. Have a
All
good
right,
one,
man. Good night.
Have a good one, night.
Oh wait, I am having a good afternoon. It's 4:00 for me, and you have a good night.
I will. You have a good afternoon, buddy. Enjoy your dinner. Have a good supper.
Bye.
Oh,
we're still alive.
Oh, we are still alive. Oh no, having problems. Why is it having a hard time ending? What a weird.
I don't know.
That's a weird. Can you end it on your side?
I can only leave the studio. Which
interesting. I've never. I don't know what to do with this. This conundrum that we're having.
Oh no. Well, I'll just leave the studio and see if that helps.
See if that helps.
All right, later, man.